I'm sorry, but you can't.
Does that bring you back?
I don't remember this. That was a way back machine. Oh god.
Hey, I understood that reference.
All I know is Georgina going, whoa.
Whoa. All right, start us off.
Uh, all right, good morning, good evening, and good night, everybody. This is I'm Gomez. I'm here with my co-host,
Christian,
and we are in Two Tickets to Hell. Tonight we'll be
two
going over
tickets to hell.
hell. Double the tickets,
That wasn't
double the
stolen
hell.
from Too Fast, Too Furious. We came up with it in the womb.
No, exactly. 'Cause we didn't. It's not the Two Tickets to Hell,
Yes. And this
but
is
we are reviewing
episode one of
the
the podcast.
exactly
Yeah.
episode one. The Suicide Squad is the movie we'll be discussing today.
Yes. Written and directed by James Gunn after he was laid off by Disney. Mm-hmm. For
Really?
the tweets.
Oh,
The
that's right, the tweets.
Yeah, the sus tweets.
We won't go into that level of detail. We're here to talk about the movie.
Yes, yes, we are. And what a movie it was, right?
Oh, it was actually. I guess we'll just jump into the overview of the movie,
Yeah.
if you don't mind. I guess
The
it
synopsis.
revolves the synopsis.
Oh, let me give you the synopsis based on the comic books. It's just a band of C-list comic book villains are put together at the prison Belle Reve. Look at that perfect play in the background. Put together in the prison of Belle Reve by the warden known as. Do you remember?
Oh yeah, Viola Davis.
No, the not the actress
Oh,
who just played.
Amanda Waller. Yes,
Yeah,
Amanda
Amanda
Waller.
Waller. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure she's retired Navy, if I can remember my sources correct from Suicide Squad Wiki. Um, she is the warden who puts together a Task Force X that goes on suicide missions for the United States government, and their missions are basically suicide missions, as the name of the title is put, because they're not
Spoiler
expected to
alert.
make it back. So the win-win for Waller is the fact that she can get these missions done, and if they die doing the missions, then one less person uh, taking up a room in Belle Reve. So if they come back and they finish their sentence, then awesome. But if not, then they might get a mission done. And that's the Suicide Squad, baby.
That's a great synopsis. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you. So in the movie, we got John Cena, Margot Robbie, Sylvester Stallone, Idris Elba, Nathan Fillion, Joel Kinnaman, uh, and Michael Rooker,
Okay.
and then David Malshi. Is that how you say it?
Austrian.
Yeah. And then Jai Courtney coming back. Obviously, there's like a bunch of
Oh,
actors.
don't forget that boy John Cena.
Who was your favorite though? So wait. I figure we can go this by talking about the basics of the movie, cast, crew, and then stuff, and then give a quick like non-spoiler review, and then just get into spoilers, like just break it down
Oh, yeah.
as much. So like 1 out of 10, what would you give this movie?
I would say it was okay. I'll give you some context for my decision here.
Mm,
If you've seen the one that came out in 2016, I think
yeah,
I would say this is a 10 out of 10.
yeah.
This is a good movie.
I mean,
But
anything's a 10 out of 10.
let's just say a lot of things would be 10 out of 10s compared to that one.
Yeah,
However, I think overall, if you like comic book movies and you like, I don't know, James Gunn style movies like Scooby Doo, then you're gonna like this movie.
classic.
You're really gonna enjoy this movie. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of comedic timings, I guess, to it,
Yeah.
and it's pretty action packed. So I would say it's a very enjoyable movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great story overall. Like, you don't have to have watched any other movie leading up to this. Like, obviously, you got to go in knowing it's a comic book movie, because then you're wondering why, like, that other character, she was orange. Um, God, what was her character? A Mongol. She was like
Oh yeah,
a orange, like lizard looking character. Yeah, if you didn't know it was a comic book movie, you'd probably be like, "What the hell am I watching?" But other than that, like, you don't really need to know much about like DC or the backstories of it, because they kind of condense it into these are a bunch of criminals that are gonna die in prison or go on these missions and then hopefully cut out their life sentences. Um, so yeah, like for me, it definitely 10 out of 10. Just a movie by itself, kind of like that whole for me IGN concept of reviewing, like just focusing on this to an overall, not just this compared to this or that or this. It just by itself, definitely a 10 out of 10. Just for a story overall. I think where it could have lost a little bit might have been maybe in the gore, and I don't want to sound too silly about that because obviously, like when you go watching rated R, you expect that level of violence. But I guess here now we'll just get into like spoilers. Um, so then that's a review for everybody who's not going to stick around for the rest of it. But are you good with going into spoilers now?
Oh yeah, I guess let me just start it off by
Yeah.
why this is 10 out of
Yeah.
10. First 5 minutes, Pete Davidson gets shot in the face, and
Face
you're just
blown
like,
off.
I thought he was gonna go through the entire movie. I was like, at that point, you're like, everyone's at risk.
Yeah.
You know, don't know
Yep.
what to expect.
For
I
me,
think
once
that
they
really.
killed off Boomerang, I was like, okay, like they weren't gonna
Oh
keep
yeah,
him around. I'm surprised because he survives every single comic book that he comes through. But
he was in the first one too. Right? Oh, I guess the original.
yeah, the 2016. This is more of like a redo. Like that's what they're calling
Yeah,
it. Um, Not really continuing too much, but yeah, I mean, once they killed him off, I was like, okay, look, this is going to be like this. Because when you actually look at it, like how many people are in this movie, they allowed themselves that kind of fun comfort zone of like, this is anyone could die. At that point, I really did expect Harley Quinn to die. I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if they kill her off at this point.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. With the
Um,
intro with Michael Rooker's character, where he's sitting in the prison cell, and they probably devote like maybe like 3 to 5 minutes of him and playing with the ball and then killing the bird and then like getting on the chopper, introducing to the characters, and they're hyping him up as being this badass.
yeah.
And he's one of the ones to go to early on,
Yeah.
just running away from everything. So
Yeah.
I guess at that point, I honestly thought the movie was over until they cut to like the B team, so to
Yeah.
speak.
And it was funny because speaking of which, like I figured he was gonna be in the movie longer. So as soon as he died, I was like, oh okay, yeah. Then they're really not investing too much on one character, which was the biggest issue with the 2016 one that David Ayer had, is that they had a bunch of people in mind who they wanted to cast for Deadshot, like Keanu Reeves, for example, was one of them. Um, and then they ended up only being able to land Will Smith, and then he wanted to plus up his character. He wanted to be the main character, and the story is not just focused on one person. Everybody's dealing with their own issues, their own shit, and if you don't allow room to like give everyone a chance, like it's just going to be bogged down by like one person, and then wondering what the hell's happening to the rest of the characters. That's why if you notice uh, James Gunn had to keep going back in time, like 3 weeks earlier, 3 days earlier, 3 minutes earlier, because there's no way to tell that kind of story in a comic book. You can go right there, look at one page, and then go look at the next page and be like, okay, like I can see this time jump or these things are happening at the same time. But in a movie, when you have like a linear way of telling the story, like where you can't really go back unless you do go back, um, it you need that room to breathe with all the characters.
A
So
la Ang Lee, Hulk
yeah,
2003.
yeah. Oh, but let me justify the gore. What I mean is like, yeah, like when his face got blown off, I was like, oh damn, okay, all right, this is one of these movies. Like, and that was awesome. But um, where it starts to like seep in or like creep into like the James Gunn's like prior experience with like Trumer Studios. Do you know that studios?
Now, which is that?
They make like I don't think they made the Toxic Avenger, but they make a bunch of like B or C level horror films, like very
Because the
gory,
Toxic
like
Avenger,
yeah,
yeah.
like a toilet's coming to eat your butt, like, and then like it's a possessed toilet and it's eating people, and they try to make it as gory as possible, right? They come up a lot on the Fangora magazines. So he has a lot of experience of like doing like straight to DVD gory like movies where you don't have to worry about the rating systems. It's all gonna be unrated anyway, so you can have fun making like a guy's head explode and then his wife trying to put it back together and stuff like that, and the blood getting all it, like you can go over the top, and then that's where I felt like this movie started to like creep into where it's like you really don't need to show all that. Like I get it, like I get it, like when One where it felt like it was a little excessive is where like the Starro's little baby or whatever was like attached to the face, but they had it separated to see how it could survive. How they were doing different experiments on different people in different levels of their interaction with Starro's like little babies. But you remember that scene where the it was lifted up and you could see the like face all messed
Starfish
up,
sucker.
and it was still trying to like attach to it.
Oh yeah.
Like, yeah, you can show that real quick in passing, like, ooh, like check out how messed up this is, but like to linger on it so long, it's like, okay, okay, I get it. It's almost like a sex scene in a movie. Like it's good when it's tasteful and it helps progress the story, but then like when you're like sitting there and it's like, this is a 10-minute sex scene and this is not actually porn. Why the hell am I watching these two actors like pretend to
Do
have
you think it
sex?
was that? You think it was a long one? I don't
What's up?
think it was too long, that scene, or maybe
It's just
just.
like that. Like the gore was just like it. It was. It was part of telling the story, but like it kind of like lingered too long. Where it's just like now you're getting into like this gore aspect of like not really needing to do it. Like Saving Private Ryan, like you have this immense like gore like in the beginning of the movie where like people are getting shot up, the guy's grabbing his arm. Imagine if like the Steven Spielberg held on the guy like grabbing his arm and he's like trying to grab it and he's slipping at his hand and he picks it back up and he walking and getting shot again, and like it's like, okay, like did it really need to go that long, you know? Like at what point is it you're just trying to like uh amplify like how gory it is, like then just add more and more gore at that point. I don't know, it's almost gets into like this theory of at what point is it too much, you know? And that to me was like if he would have done that a little too much, then it would have been hard to like really justify it as like a perfect 10, because like you think like a movie like RoboCop with all the scenes that happen in that movie that is gory, that was the kind of movie like your parents show you as a kid, you know what I mean? It's rated R and your parents show you as a kid, like you don't have nightmares about it.
Oh, that was gross though.
Yeah, and
When
it
he
was
gets
gross.
spoilers for Robocop, that's a nasty movie.
Yeah, where
It's
he's look
really
like,
good. It's nasty.
mm-hmm.
No, I take it back. There's nasty scenes.
Yeah.
It's a
So
good movie.
so what do you think about the kind of like mission overall? Like they pair them together and they go to the Corto Maltese, and then
I thought it was good. Like, I think one of the funniest. Like it's a dark comedy, right? Like
yeah,
that's the way like sort of like Shaun of the Dead and that style when it came to like the violence and all that.
yeah,
But I thought it was really dumb and kind of funny when they're trying to rescue what's his name, Rick Flag,
yeah.
Colonel Rick Flag, played by Joel Kinnaman. But with they're taking out the entire camp, and like Peacemaker and Bloodsport, their characters are trying to like one up each other, like
Which that
taking
was one of
everybody
the
out.
best too.
And they finally get to like the they're gonna rescue him. They pull the curtains back, and he's having tea with
Yeah, just chilling.
the.
As soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, they fucked up. They
Yeah,
fucked up. Yeah, no, like that's what's great is that like James Gunn like has this ability to like tell a cohesive story, but then also interweave like, you know, plot twists and stuff without giving it away, like where people are gonna guess what's gonna happen. Because like it's not something you're
honest.
watching and you're like, oh, watch, they're gonna be the friends. It's so outlandish that it it made sense, but it also didn't make sense. Like if you weren't, because they were only there to fight the soldiers, like not the rebels. Like we even saw the rebels earlier. We were set up to like to have that could happen, but we didn't think that could happen. Like just like as much as the characters didn't think that there was some rebels that were on the island. Because remember how they came up in the night in the force and got Rick Flag.
Oh yeah, and then like cut it,
So
and
we
then
like, yeah, before all that we could have been like, oh wait, those are the rebels. Oh, they're killing them. But you never think like that because you're so engrossed into the story and like what's happening that like you kind of like let it go, and then as soon as it comes back you're like, oh, that's right, and
yeah,
then it's too late.
it's very fun. It was definitely very fun.
Which it was funny when the John Cena and Idris Elba were like going off like talking about who's like better and stuff like that, and then Idris Elba goes, nobody likes a show off, and then he's like, unless it's really fucking cool, and he's like, damn, you're right.
No,
Yeah,
I think also one of the charms of the movie is like how you said earlier about like the difficulties with the first, I guess, the 2016 version of the movie.
Mm,
Where I guess too much of the film was focused on one character,
mm,
whereas this one, like mentally as I'm watching, I'm just like, okay, this character, like you get introduced to characters and like you're just like, oh, maybe I don't like this character. It's kind of annoying. Like the
yeah.
polka dot man. At first, I was like, oh, this dude's like, he's just gonna be like that character that always complains or something, right?
Yeah.
And something.
No, there's
But like,
deeper, and he wove it in there without making it too much. Yeah.
yeah, like towards the end, I was like rooting for polka dot man up
Yeah.
until he got stopped. Like I was actually burnt, like, kind of upset that he got taken out. I wanted a polka dot man movie, you know.
Yeah, I was
Like
ready for a whole show
it was
on
really
HBO
good,
Max.
and that's why I think like to the earlier comments of like if you watch the 2016 version and you didn't like it, you should definitely give this one a shot.
Yeah.
I know that like that was my hesitation. I originally didn't want to watch it because I was like, well, if it's anything, I guess I had that bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah.
But I was like, well, I like James Gunn's movies. The Scooby Doo movie was great, so I guess I'll give
Let's
this one a
let
shot.
me take that back. Also, Guardians of the Galaxy, but yeah, Scooby Doo though.
Scooby Doo 1 and 2 is pretty good. Monsters Unleashed.
Yeah,
It's
supposedly
gonna
there's
drop.
a rated R version of Scooby Doo as well. Like there's more
Good.
stoner jokes and more sexual humor, but it got like edited down to like what PG finally.
There's a rated R version
Yeah.
of the Scooby.
Well,
Oh,
because
sorry, the Scooby Doo.
he wanted to write a PG-13 R version of Scooby Doo, like because it is for a mature audience. If you count the fact that like all of the people who grew up with it are adults at that point, teenagers and adults.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
that's true.
but I mean, obviously, the studio wants to make as much money as possible, so you try to go for the general public. But yeah, no, I mean that's what's awesome is that like you take a character because like apparently he just Googled while he was like in the process of researching, he just Googled what is the lamest DC villain, and the first one that came up was Polka Dot Man, and he's like, I'm gonna make this gold. You know, I'm gonna make people wear polka dot shirt, man. Team, you know, at Hot Topic, shirts gonna be selling off the shelves.
They're gonna be like the Joker in 2008 with polka dot man t-shirts and Hot Topic.
No,
It's gone all over the
exactly.
place.
Yeah, it goes from like people don't really care much to all of a sudden it's a fan favorite, and that's what happens when you actually take time and invest in the characters and stories yourselves. Because like how uh from like Batman Begin coming out, and then The Dark Knight, and then Iron Man coming out. You have like studios competing back and forth about who's going to make the next successful thing, especially if like you have two studios fighting on either side of the street, and then as soon as Marvel did what was it, they did Iron Man, and then there was another one that came out I think before Guardians of the Galaxy that made them kind of like turn around and realize that the movies were getting too dark, because they wanted to kind of do. So okay, before that, actually backtrack. Before that, they did the Batman trilogy, and then they tried to do the Man of Steel, which was executive produced by Christopher Nolan, trying to create the whole DC cinematic universe after the Avengers coming through, and then the studio kind of like quickly put together the rest of the Justice Leagues, which came with Batman, Ben Affleck's Batman, doing Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice. And then they expected that to be their $1 billion tentpole. And then they were looking for the rest of where they could go outside of the Justice League to try and create more movies. Because Iron Man's not a main property of Marvel. It was just one of the main things that they could latch onto first, make, because they had lost Spider-Man and they had lost the X-Men. So they were like, all right, we're going to start here and then work our way back to the bigger characters. Um, like it's funny, Kevin Feige actually had a strategic reason of doing certain movies at certain points. Like he knew he couldn't do Doctor Strange anytime soon because it was too far out there. The same with
It's out
Thor.
there.
Yeah, I had to like bring people into the party before you start having them do jello shots of people's belly buttons. You know what I mean? Invite people into the house first.
Yeah,
Um,
you can't look into, especially with like, I guess, because some comic books are out there.
yeah, yeah,
Like,
especially
real
like the
out
Thor
there.
series.
I mean, just this movie, like Polka Dot Man, that's the King Shark.
Interdimensional virus. I
Yeah,
was like,
that's
damn, okay, I like that. Like
that
that's pretty cool.
works.
Yeah,
My
yeah,
my expectations of comic book movies are there. So
yeah. No, and so they wanted to have the same thing that Marvel does, but they weren't willing to invest in the time and do the work. Like have like someone like the same thing that happened to Star Wars. Like have someone truly in charge that understands the project and the material, and then knows how to build it upon that. Because like for them to decide while making Justice League, um, it's too dark, it's too negative. We already lost a bunch of money from Batman v Superman. It needs to be more upbeat and needs to be more funny and exciting. And then you already have David Ayer like completely done with the Suicide Squad, and then they watch it and they're like, it's too dark and gritty. And then according to like a bunch of their test audience, like people said no, it was great, it was a good movie, like it's gritty and down to earth.
Yeah.
That's why you get the guy who did Fury and what is it? The movie with Jake Gyllenhaal where they're cops.
Michael Pena.
Yeah, and Michael Pena.
Who's that?
End of Watch. Like he's a gritty director. He's not like Guardians of the Galaxy. You know what I mean?
Oh shit.
It's completely
Sorry.
different. So then like his version of the movie is vastly different, and then and you can see that in his original trailer. I think that came out 2013 at Comic Con, and it got leaked and then put online. It looks like a completely different movie. And then the studio hired another company to make a newer trailer and make it more upbeat to have kind of set people's expectations differently. And then apparently that trailer took off. It was the one with the Bohemian Rhapsody uh, music, kind of amping up the overall action. It seemed like, oh, this is going to be action and comedy like Guardians of the Galaxy. That's where everyone's head was going at because Guardians of the Galaxy was successful and it was exactly that, action comedy. But again, David Ayer didn't make that. So then the studio had the same company, or the studio had him do a bunch of reshoots, add a bunch of jokes, add more humor, add more Will Smith, and then he re-edited the movie, but they didn't like that. So the way he edited it with the humor, so they actually got the studio that did the trailer to edit the whole movie for them, and that's exactly why you have those like 5 second like music drops at the very beginning because they were trying to like still amp it up, and then they allowed the movie to continue. But that's where it's
Mm.
just so weird. It makes absolutely no sense compared to this when you see the what inspired the Suicide Squad, or quote unquote inspired the 2016 Suicide Squad to be the shit show it was because of James Gunn, who was successful off of Guardians of the Galaxy. And then now you see what happens when he comes in and then gets involved in doing his version of exactly the same thing. And it shows you that like it doesn't have to be a cocaine fueled like night fever dream, you know what I mean, like which was the 2016 movie. It can actually be a coherent story, like where you actually care about the characters. Like even the music drops, you notice how like the music actually does make sense, the same how I did for Guardians of the Galaxy. The music was part of like telling us how they're feeling, not telling us how to feel, but telling us how the characters are feeling.
That's a good synopsis.
What was trippy
I
too,
didn't know.
like I didn't notice that
Uh,
till I started thinking about it, is that like in the Guardians of the Galaxy where he was doing those music drops, they were just music to help us understand how the characters are feeling. But what was awesome about this version is that if you notice the music, it kind of cues off, or it starts off of something playing in the background so the characters can hear those songs too.
yeah, it builds up.
Yeah, so it's like they're telling us how they're feeling, but it's also included into the actual narrative of the story, like because it was playing in a little radio or in the car they're driving in. That's pretty clever. Like to
Yeah,
think
no,
that
it's
far, like while you're writing the story, you're including the songs that you're gonna put in it.
no, it's just it's a cohesive. I think it's just a cohesive story, like
Hmm.
from beginning to end.
It makes sense.
And then and stick for the after credits too, because they might. Oh, who knows? Because apparently, I don't know who it was. I think it was Kevin Feige said that James Gunn is now back with Marvel. But I don't know if he's released to like make movies for DC again or.
No, well, they allowed him to continue with Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Okay, which
Yeah,
was
so
the original before he
yeah,
got.
so he's gone back to continue Guardians of the Galaxy. So what happened is that uh Twitter basically found old tweets from James
Oh,
Gunn.
Twitter,
Yeah,
some person.
joking, and then Bob Chapek, um, and probably not even Bob Chapek, just the way the corporation and Disney works is it's just so vast that you have so much middle management that can have so much power to make a decision, and then the higher ups have to answer for it. So you have this weird area where like Gina Carano from The Mandalorian, whenever she had posted a controversial picture on Instagram, they called her into a Zoom meeting, obviously because of the pandemic, but they called her into a Zoom meeting, and apparently it was like her and 20 other people from Disney from different departments, trying to understand, like different middle managers, like trying to understand, hey, like when you posted this, what were you thinking? What were your reaction? Like, this is what you should do. This is what you should say. If you don't agree, like, oh, we probably shouldn't work together. And then like you're fired, like right there. And they tried to
She
do the
was
same to Pedro Pascal that same
Didn't
day.
she say something like anti-vax stuff though?
Yeah, it was a comment on how
Or the
like
anti-vax mask?
no, I think it was no, it was more like along the lines of like you can't say anything anymore, and it's the exact same way the Jews were treated during the Holocaust,
Yeah,
something
that's a
like
bit.
that. And
That's a
it
bit.
wasn't exactly what she had said. It was basically a screenshot of some BS you see on Facebook, like some fake news you see on Facebook, and then she posted that on her story. So it just, I mean, you do something like that, and it just clearly tells people that you agree with this message.
Yeah, you should
Um,
proofread your shit.
yeah, exactly. So I mean, regardless, it's one of those things that like if in any other situation you just talk about it, you apologize, and oh, I read a different message, or I'm an idiot. But no, you're talking about Disney. It's a giant corporation. You can't mess
Yeah,
around like that. They got to protect all their
their
properties.
IPs
Yeah,
can't sell
exactly.
toys like that.
Yeah, yeah, and then so then when it came to like James Gunn, because that had was it no no, he was fired way before Gina Carano. I think that was like a
Oh
couple
yeah,
years
that was
before.
before the
But
movie.
yeah, that's right, because he was probably already making this movie. Uh, but yeah, his Twitter basically like found the tweets and was like, "How can Disney hire somebody like this? Like he's making jokes about pedophilia, and then you're talking about Disney, a company that's about children and theme parks and stuff like that, is working with a sick person like this, and then they're like, yeah, you're right, we don't work with someone like this, we didn't know about this, like, and then they fired him, like, which again, Disney's a massive corporation. How did they not do background checks and be like, this is a little sketchy? I mean, you can't even get a job at Pizza Hut, and then they're like, you said some too much positivity about Domino's Pizza on your Twitter, we don't want to work with you. So the fact that
Yeah,
Disney kind of didn't do something like that is weird, but like they
yeah.
basically laid him off. They notified Bob Chapek, and then I'm not sure how Kevin Feige found out, but he was blindsided. He's like, "What? Like this is a different department. Like you're talking about massive
Disney
Disney,
Corporation.
and then Marvel Studios, and then he's head of Marvel Studios. Like, and then you're just gonna fire one of my employees like from over here to here. Like that's such a far reach that obviously like he didn't like that.
Welcome,
You know."
welcome to corporate America, buddy.
Yeah, and then I mean Kevin Feige was
That's
right.
exactly.
Kevin Feige was the same one who's fighting for Black Widow to be delayed on release because of the agreements they had with Scarlett Johansson getting points off of the movie's release in theaters. If they're gonna throw it on streaming, they have to renegotiate everybody's contracts who have royalties based on specific performance. Like you can't just decide, oh, we're gonna release it. No, before they've even greenlit the movie, like they would have already decided we're also gonna release this on Disney Plus and in theaters. Like, that's exactly why this is coming down now.
Yeah, I think that movie was destined to be a problem for everybody since they pushed it back like 10 times.
Yeah, and I mean
Even before the pandemic, they just pushed it back.
yeah, which at that point they should have just released it on theaters and been like, all right, then now we're gonna release it on Disney Plus. I really don't see where the thinking was there. I mean, they have the data, they have the numbers, and they probably see exactly,
They know
what
what
their
to do.
performance is on Disney Plus versus theaters,
Yeah,
and specific theaters right now, what can and cannot be open depending on states. I mean, big data. That's how it works, and we can understand like, okay, this is where they're getting it. So
which just to say, I don't know how you feel. I want to get your thoughts on it, but I really enjoy. Like I watched this on HBO Max, like
yeah,
not in the movie. But so far, my experience, I haven't bought any like Disney direct movies because
I
I'm
thought you
not
were gonna
about
say
stuff.
paraphernalia like I do, like buy a bunch of Disney BS.
No,
Like here's my. I don't know if you can see
no,
it.
I know you got your Disney. If you don't know, Chris is a Disney Disney holic. He got his Mickey
Like,
Mouse.
can you see my
Toy.
chains?
He got his chains. He got all the anniversary pins. if you
No, but
see
pray
him at
tell.
if you see him at Disney World, just follow him because he knows where all the shortcuts are.
Drooling.
But what I would say is like, I didn't buy the Disney like Plus like $30 movie because I don't feel like doing that.
Yeah.
But I really do like the like direct to home streaming option for like
Mm.
movies. At least like post pandemic or in the middle of the pandemic technically.
Yeah.
Because like I don't know, like I feel like it's a lot easier, at least for my lifestyle, just to be oh, movie's coming out. All right, let's get some popcorn and just chill out on a Friday and just watch a movie
Yeah.
rather than like going to the theater and risk getting sick or shot up and
Which that reminds me of like that meme that was like last year where it's like the beginning of the pandemic was obviously panic, and then later on it was like companies were just like we're losing money, open everything, and then there's that meme of like companies at the beginning were like stay alive,
all this
don't go
together.
outside, we'll miss you whenever you can come back to
Clap
you
hands
go
and
get COVID, might as well get it at Burger King. That was
You're gonna
sure.
get sick. You might as well get sick here. Get
You
your
might
money.
as well get sick at
Might as well
Disney.
get it real quick.
Yeah, like
But no, like I just think I don't want to get your thoughts on it because I think the only movie realistically
mm.
that I plan to see in the theaters is going to be Dune in IMAX
Oh
this
yeah.
October.
Yeah, and then well, speaking of which, like, because you said for the premiere, you're talking about Black Widow because this was on HBO Max, and then I
No,
mean that just
I
comes out.
haven't seen Black Widow. I'm saying like Black Widow, like it's been delayed since for a long time and eventually got released on Disney Plus
Yeah, which
with the theater.
I mean, there's got to be numbers on that too, because like you're paying for the early access, you're not paying for anything, so they can take it off of the Disney Plus and they can throw it back on like the Disney Vault. You didn't actually pay to own a digital copy,
No,
which
no,
is
no.
insane.
Yeah, no.
$30 to watch that movie like
No,
in your house
it's
is
there's that's as personally that's to me it's ridiculous. Like I haven't
and the
bought
way
a
they
single
price
one.
that, it's based on a family of three watching the movie in the
Yeah,
living room. So that's kind of like a good like kind of basis. I mean, it'll be interesting to see like in the future. Like there'll be enough like numbers later on to like
yeah,
see
they're gonna
how
get the
it
data out.
how it affects like pirating. Because like people want to watch the movie in theaters. Obviously, they can or they can't. And then if they can't, then most people will pirate the content. So does streaming allow them? Because like, why would anyone pirate? Why would anyone who has HBO Max pirate Suicide Squad? You already have it. They didn't charge you any extra like Disney does. So I wonder how the
No, that's
difference
true.
between HBO Max and Disney, because what's going to happen is the Suicide Squad releases in theaters and HBO Max, and then it's only on HBO Max for I think a month, and then it gets off,
It's in
and then it'll come
3
back
5
like a
months,
couple months later with the DVD release.
similar to Disney's strategy, and that's what I've been doing, at least
Yeah.
personally. It's like, let's say it comes out $30. I
Mm.
don't watch it. I either go to the theater, which I don't plan to,
Yeah.
and plus none of the movies that really come out have interest me enough to go in.
Yeah.
But I'll just wait 5 months and wait for it to come out on regular streaming that I've already paid for.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll watch it then. But I see the frustration in like at least in Scarlett Johansson and others' case of
Yeah.
like how does that go into their bottom line, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's gonna be a whole like settlement for sure. Like it's not going to go to trial. Like, I mean, if it does, it'd be paramount because it'd be equal to that of the writers' strike in 2015, where everything was destroyed, media wise. But what happened there is that a lot of the content was getting published online. Is it 2015? A lot of the content was basically getting published online, and writers weren't getting royalties for content that was being published online. So they went on that massive strike until all contracts were renegotiated per the Screen Writers Guild.
Writers Guild. Yeah.
Yeah, so that had to get renegotiated per the unions. But basically, the studios decided to do whatever they want, and then not figure out like, ooh, this is gonna screw us over. But that's the cost of business. Like it happens all the time. Like in
Happens in every industry, right?
yeah, in different markets where it's like oh man, is this cheating taxes? Yes, but if you get caught, and if you do get caught, it's $100,000 fine. Oh well, we're a multi-billion-dollar business. Why the hell would we care about $100,000 fine? You know what I mean? Do it. You know,
Yeah.
at that point, like that's how people end up treating the system. Is they're like, hey, we're not even gonna say sorry. We're just gonna say like, oh, okay, let's figure this out now. Here's a couple money to make you happy. Couple of monies to make you happy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So like so what's awesome about like streaming because that's a whole discussion in itself is just being able to stream content like this. Like my main reason for I keep forgetting the video, but my main reason for the enjoyment of being able to stream is because yeah, it is one hard to get to a theater. But even if I can't get to a theater, like say if I didn't watch it Thursday, I watched it Friday. It's like if it's not just like your own friends, like you know, talking about it. It's like you might scroll on Instagram and then there's like a spoiler,
Oh
or
god,
Reddit
that's
there's a
right.
spoiler.
Yeah.
It's like when Star Wars came out, like I was like adamant about watching it, no matter how much I hated the sequels. Is like I needed to watch it because I didn't want it to spoil my own experience before I get a chance. The same with reviews. Like I love reviews. I watch tons of different movie
We're
reviews.
doing one right now.
Yeah, exactly. But my main thing is I watch my movie reviews after I watch the movie. I don't want to go
Oh
into
yeah.
the movie already spoiled or already overhyped. Like if
Which
we're
is why
like,
we've tried to call it out beforehand for those
yeah,
that.
exactly. And this is why I like this is like it should be really a discussion after the fact, and a review is post like everything else. But like what's good is going in and watching a review, and you can kind of like be like, oh, that's exactly what I was thinking, or that's exactly how I felt, or I don't agree with that because of this, you know. And that's where I think reviews get it wrong. They kind of overhype you or push you down, and then you're just like, I wanted to enjoy this movie, but I was constantly fixated on how the reviewer said, like, notice how like Harley Quinn does this in the movie, and you're like, that I didn't even think about that until somebody said it, you know. It's like
Oh yeah.
those little things I can't. That's exactly why I never watch reviews before. Just after is more of a fact that it doesn't shape my opinion. It should allow me to go in fresh, and then whether or not I agree with it, then I agree. But it'd be good to have like kind of this round table of like the same when you watch a movie and you hang out with your friends and you're like, what'd you guys think? Oh, like this and this. Like that's why you go to the movie, you know. Like it really would suck to go to a group of friends and be like, hey, you guys want to watch this movie? I don't know. I saw this trailer and made me feel weird about it, or I heard this review and it looks like it sucks, or somebody else like, oh no, I read this review says it's great. Like that's a weird conversation to have in general. Just that like already deciding in your group of friends, like say there's three of them and then two don't want to see the movie but one wants to see it with you. It's like then just go with that one friend. Yeah, I mean at a certain point I feel like where I'm getting at is just like you don't want to get too in the weeds about watching reviews beforehand because you will get uh, your mindset in a specific way that's not going to help you actually enjoy the movie.
Especially if the movie sucks.
Yeah, especially if the movie sucks.
Like Army of the Dead. Whatever y'all do, don't. If you haven't seen it, just go in blind because if they give
Yeah,
you some plot holes,
yeah.
that's all you're gonna notice.
No, and 100%. No, that is a perfect example. Thank you. Because, like, I did enjoy that movie. And then after I watched a couple reviews, I was like, oh, I enjoyed the movie, but also that movie sucks.
Oh,
Like, you know what
I'm kind of slow. This movie's kind of terrible.
I mean? I'm kind of slow. I didn't, my smooth brain never caught this. Like,
Yeah,
no,
bounce right off.
like no, and that's a perfect example is like I was able to enjoy the movie and then not like feel hurt because like what does suck is that like getting out of the movies and being like I really wasted my money, you know.
Oh, that's. I think that boils down, at least from my cheap ass.
Yeah.
The reason why I don't like going to movies anymore is because there's been so many movies that I've seen this pandemic period
Mm.
that have come out new, and I'm just like, man, thank God I didn't spend money in the movie theater for this.
Yeah, yeah. I just
Wonder Woman 1984 is
oh my god, yeah.
prime example
Yeah, no,
of that.
that is perfect. As soon as I finished watching that movie, I was like, thank God I didn't see this in the theaters. I'd be
Thank God I
pissed.
still have
I
that
would be
money in
so
my
pissed. Cuz
catalog.
like I can like pause it and use the restroom or just like pause it and just think like
Huh. Pull out your phone and just take a
yeah.
little break.
Right? Ain't nobody can get mad that I'm pulling out my phone
Oh
or
yeah,
like have a couple
exactly.
one too many drinks just so I can get through it.
Yeah, that's exactly the movie that I'm just. There's been a couple other ones, but that's
Yeah.
the prime example of a movie I'm glad I did not pay full price plus. whoever wants to come and popcorn and all that other crap.
Yeah. See, and that's exactly what makes like streaming great is because like the same with watching this movie is that like I wasn't gonna be able to see it in the theater, and then I just put the kids down to bed, and then I'm trying to watch it downstairs on my big TV. I was like, oh, it's gonna be like an IMAX experience. At least it's gonna feel like a little bit of a movie theater. And then uh, uh, the youngest like waking up, and I'm like, so I put him back to bed, and I'm like, well, now I can't even be downstairs because he's probably gonna wake up. So then I'm like, I'm sitting in my chair just watching on my phone. The exact experience James Gunn wants me to have, the
The
exact
exact
experience
experience. See,
that
this is
Christopher
where
Nolan wants me to have when I'm
I
watching
can I can tell
any
you
of his.
exactly where you messed up. See, this is what you got to do, and this is a tip for everybody that's fortunate enough to have a VR headset.
Oh
I'll
yeah,
praise
yep.
that beforehand
Just
because
sitting there, just watching on an
sitting
IMAX
there,
screen. Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting in space in IMAX watching this movie, and it's a good experience.
No
So
clothes
yeah,
on.
no clothes on, super cold.
And then for me, like just watching on my phone, like, oh, I gotta go to the bathroom. The great part is I don't gotta pause it. I can walk with my phone, put it on
There,
the top of the toilet, and then just
yeah,
pee.
you gotta sit
Start
backwards. So
laughing, like pee gets all over everywhere. Oh god, I got my phone.
that's what
Okay,
the little
it's fine,
shelf
it's fine,
is
it's
on the
fine.
toilet. That's what the shelf is. You put your phone there. You could
Yep,
lay
and your
down,
cereal, and you just sit facing it,
just yeah, saddle
just
it
like
like a
this.
horse. There you go. And before you know it, the movie's over.
Right. Oh man. Yeah, I mean, like it was awesome.
But
I
no,
really wonder what like. I mean, I'm sure there won't be any discussions about it from James Gunn himself as far as like not agreeing to a streamed release because he has no option in the matter. But but it will be interesting to see if like anyone kind of brings up that conversation, and that's pretty much it as far as streaming because there can be a whole podcast on streaming and the past, present, and future of what it is and what it's going to be because uh yeah, that's a whole subject in itself. But what I'm sure you find it interesting too to see like what, and that goes back to the same with the gore stuff that I was talking about earlier. Is like James Gunn's storytelling. I wasn't going to just say abilities, but his way of telling stories in a studio, a very dry. I wouldn't say too dry, but like a very corporately controlled studio environment that is Disney, and then now DC, where they're like, please,
please help us.
anything. Here's the check. There's no amount written on it. Just please.
Just save
know?
us, please save us.
Yeah, and then he kind of takes that and does whatever he wants, and it maybe lingers on gore a little too longer than he needs to. So I mean, it'll be interesting to see. Like, I'm sure he had an enjoyment aspect of it, and then he's probably gonna go back to Warner Brothers and be like, "Hey, I'd love to make another movie. It can be anything, DC or just anything Warner Brothers related." And he'll be like, "Nah, we good. We just needed that one. We're good now."
Oh man, probably.
Yeah, but how do you feel about his way of telling stories now that he didn't really have to like censor himself?
I think it was good. Like I mean, like I said, I'm a big fan ever since Scooby Doo one and Scooby Doo two, Monsters Incorporated. But I think overall it was like he's. I mean, he clearly he knows what he's doing, right? He's been doing this for a while,
Yeah,
and I mean it shows. But I just think he's got a good way of pacing his movies,
yeah,
especially this one. It has a good pacing. Like how you mentioned, like the time cuts and like jumping back and forth. I think it added to the movie.
mm-hmm.
Where typically, at least from the variety of films I've seen, it tends to take away from the film,
Yeah,
especially if you don't know when the hell anything is going on.
true.
But like I think it paced the movie pretty well with like scenes like a good example of Peacemaker when he I already said spoilers, but when he kills Rick Flag, right?
Yeah,
And he's trying to get the hard drive, and then Ratcatcher 2 has the hard drive. She's running away, and then he's gonna kill her,
yeah,
and then it cuts from there, right? Like
yeah,
you're going from a very high tension moment, and it cuts immediately, and now we're going to putting bombs on the tower, and it starts to rebuild again. There's the comedic timings like Milton and the character.
Mm.
They don't know who he is, and it's slowly building up, and the building's exploding, and they're crashing, and yada yada yada. And then it cuts back to where we were with Peacemaker, and now Bloodsport and Peacemaker having their final showdown, sort of
Yeah.
speak. Which I think it added to that, where you're constantly on the edge of your seat. I think sometimes in some movies, um, you need to have crescendos, because if you go just you ramp it up once and then you keep trying to increase it, sometimes it gets a little too much.
Yeah.
So having those cuts really work pretty well, especially where there's so much going on with so many different characters.
Yeah, you can enjoy every moment without like feeling like it's a Fast and Furious where they're in the airplane on a 28-mile runway.
Exactly, that's exactly a perfect example of not knowing when to crescendo, because you
Yeah.
just building up for 28
Just
minutes on this
edging
runway.
us too long.
Because everyone's just tired of this damn runway, this plane.
Yeah. Right. Right. Um. Yeah. No. The perfect point. Yeah. Is being able to set that, and that was dope. Whenever like he just put the what tile or whatever into his heart, it was like,
I was going to say
jeez,
that was
that's
really cool.
official.
That was a cool. I don't know. I've been playing Doom 26, Eternal too much, but that was pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Well, that was some
The way
Sniper Elite right there.
Sniper Elite
What was your favorite cameo in the movie?
cameo,
Yeah.
I'd probably say my favorite character that got killed too early, and then he didn't. It was the Weasel.
Yeah.
That dude was disgusting and funny.
Just
I just
drowned. Did
wanted to see
anybody check if you could swim?
everybody check if he could swim. That was that was the character. I was like, oh, damn, I wanted the Weasel to be in this one.
Yeah. See, and that thank you for bringing that up because like I was thinking too is like you think Amanda Waller would just like blow everybody's heads that like are dead but just to confirm the kill. If she probably forgets them, I mean you can probably write it in at that point is as long as these characters can survive long enough, the battery in their or the brain in the chip, the battery in the chip in the base of their
And the
skull
brain.
just dies eventually that it won't detonate. You know what I mean? So like
I mean, that's
if you
I
fake
guess
being dead,
that's the comic book, I guess, because it's the
yeah,
magic
but that at that point
battery.
it's in the weeds. But you could also use that as a point in the in a sequel where they try to get away from Amanda Waller by just playing along until they can wait till the bomb is a dud at that point. I don't know, whatever. Just a stupid little thought that came into my head when I was like, you think she would just blow their heads off like
Damn.
right, well like TDK like whenever he's like they're like dying like well you're done, you're done, like you know what I mean, like you're fired.
I guess
uh
that shows just how little she cares
yeah,
about their role.
yeah.
She cares about the mission, right? So she's not focused on she's already on plan B, rather than like, all right, let me make sure that these doors are closed. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Which is that's what's funny is like in the comic books like she's always the one up like like she already thought that before you were gonna think that, so like whenever like she like in the comic books it kind of gets like frustrating because like it'd be the same as if they would have put it in the movie in that same kind of emphasis. It would be like whenever she got hit in the back of the head with
The drive,
the little putter right that they were using or the
yeah, the
driver.
putter, the
Yeah,
putter, yeah.
like if it would have broken and like crumbled, like it was just twig, and then she's like, "I already knew you were gonna do that." That would have been like the comic books where it's just like, God, okay, like nobody gets one on her, Um,
Yeah, I
which
don't
that would
know
have
if I
been
would have
dumb as
liked
hell if
that.
they would have done that. But that's what I was saying is like it was funny for me. It was like such a shock to see her get knocked out. I was like, oh damn, she doesn't see everything because in the comic books it's almost like, okay, what is she, the Oracle?
They should have said, "Did you not see this coming?" and then whacked.
Whacked. They whacked her.
Hey, speaking of which, completely separate topic.
Mm.
But you know which character I just didn't get like their purpose
Which one?
is the thinker. Like he didn't really do a lot of thinking. I was expecting him to do a lot more. Like, oh, I knew you were gonna do this. That's why I had this evil plan B all along.
All
But
along.
he was just there, sort of like being Mr. Scientist. You know?
Yeah, the guy with the protrusions out of his head.
Yeah, the laser pointers,
Yeah, played by Peter Capidali.
Capaldi.
Capaldi.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
Capaldi.
what was the character's name? Because in the comic books, he's actually one of the Suicide Squad, the Thinker. That's what he's called in this one, but he has a
Yeah.
different name. But
Oh, is that a different
yeah, in the Suicide Squad, he has like an actual like purpose because he's able to like influence people's thoughts.
one?
Because
I guess
like
that's the Easter egg that they were saying was he was working on that way to control people.
I'm sure there's got to be more to it, but it was probably actually no. This brings me to my other point, but like, because like if you think about it, like just like you said, he really didn't do much in the movie. He was his goal was like spending the past
To
30
walk
years
them.
to control the Starros to control Starro, but also to learn Starro's power so that he could use it because he was trying
Yes.
to. That's what he says is that he was trying to control people, which that ends up becoming his quote unquote superpower or whatever. But um, it was actually funny to see that like there wasn't anything. Then what did he do there? You spent 30 years like experimenting on humans. Okay, what else? Like anything?
I I don't think he even did that. I think he was just like, all right, put the starfish on this person, and
Yeah.
that was that.
And then we're gonna separate it and see how they connect and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, the most he did is got
That's
them into
Guardian.
the yeah. He was mainly just a plot device.
Yeah, he
Um,
was just a plot device
yeah, is to get them. What is it? The Deus Ex
from
Machina, the
A to
thing.
B.
Yeah, to get them to the thing, but also to help them get inside
The
the
lab.
Nazi tower. What was it called?
It was a German name.
Yeah, yes, it was a German name. But the like other than that, like I was like there probably was like a whole like 5 to 10 minute scene like showing him
There was probably what's it
experimenting,
called?
but it was too
The
gory, and the
Snyder a
studio was like,
Snyder
okay,
cut.
that's a little too much.
A Snyder cut.
It's like 5 10 minutes of him doing like some Nazi style experiments on like people with Starros like babies.
That
But
Star
like
Babies were broke.
yeah, but Warner Brothers is like, you need to chill out, bro. Like this is too
We
much.
already gave you the fucking eyeball.
Yeah, we ain't making a Trumer movie now. Uh,
That eyeball scene.
yeah.
I have a thing against eyes, so it was really funny, like in a gross way.
Which eyeball
Well,
scene?
you don't remember the eyeball scene?
Where she's in the eyeball? Yeah,
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 her and a million rats are in the eye. I think it's a
yeah. They're really
memorable
going for
scene.
phobias. Like at that point, like trypophobia, like the
As
little
soon as I
weird
saw
holes
the
in.
eye, like the jellyfish, with the starfish with the giant eye, I was like, oh, it's gonna be
Well,
gross.
as soon as she took the javelin and they made a big point about like the javelin, like I was like, oh, she's probably gonna use it to poke his eye.
That's what I was
With
saying.
a
I was like,
tidbit.
oh, she's gonna poke his eye. I thought she was gonna throw it. I didn't know she was gonna go into it with the javelin.
Yeah, that was pretty gnarly. um, yeah, like my favorite cameo, even though you didn't ask, Taika Waititi.
Oh yeah, is the rat
Yeah,
catcher dead? That was
Ratcatcher.
great.
Yeah, Ratcatcher one.
That
Uh,
was really
which
sweet.
I even like it was so dumb. I didn't need to do it, but like I paused the movie and I was like looking real close at my phone screen,
Okay.
and I was like, "That's him, right?" Like checking. I was like, "No, that's definitely him. That's got to be him. I'll check later if it's him." And then obviously later on they do a scene, closer scene, and he's
A
actually talking. I was
closer
like,
scene.
"That is him." Oh well, then that was a complete waste of time for me to pause, rewind, and then really focus on that one shot to see if it's him. I could have just waited and seen him later for something so trivial. Oh man. Anything else?
Yeah. Let's see. I always got to give a shout out to my boy, Joaquin Cosio. That
Joaquin
dude,
Phoenix?
nah, that dude has been in every single like South American dictator role for the
Narcos.
past
He was
for
dope
the
in
past
Narcos.
5 years. He was dope in Narcos. He was fantastic in The Strain. I don't know if you ever seen that show,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, anything that he's in it, I'm gonna watch it because
Yeah.
he's doing the most.
Yeah, I know he was great in it. Like, I mean, obviously there wasn't too much to do there. It was just playing a drunken, like
War,
general, like dictator.
it
Yeah, future dictator.
was great. He did a good job. He
Yeah,
sold
yeah. That
that and oh, Joel Kinnaman from Altered Carbon as Rick Flag. I think it was really good.
yeah, I know he's awesome. Like he
He annoyed the
actually
shit out of me in the 2016 version.
He what?
I think he was in the 2016 version.
Yeah.
He annoyed the crap out of me. Like they wrote his character like
This is
shit.
Katana. She's got my
Yeah,
back. I suggest not getting killed by her.
that
She'd
one
cut y'all down with
with her
one stroke
ghost
of a
sword,
sword.
and she
And
never uses the
and
sword
it
the whole
possesses this. Yeah.
movie.
It's like, okay. Oh, and then so what was so dumb, like, because we were talking about like cohesion, like with the story, is for this what was great, and then the 2016 version. If you think about it, Amanda Waller, like from the beginning, she's putting a task force team together that she pitched to the United States military uh, to activate, and then she's putting the team together to rescue her from her team that she had sent out to rescue her, like, because they get sent to go into the city because there's a disturbance, and it ends up being
The witch,
the
right?
witch, yeah, enchantress. But they don't even explain that till the plot twist being that, like, they're gonna rescue somebody, and then they get to the safe room, and then the door opens and it's her. It's Amanda Waller. That's the big twist, is they're rescuing
It
her.
just seemed
It's
like a
like, wait,
giant waste of time.
what? How,
Like
how did she get in there?
she should have stayed at home. Is what she should have done.
Yeah, like that was like the dumbest thing. But it shows you, like, there is obviously like way
There's a
more
lot.
going on. Like there's like two movies clearly were made, and then they were mashed together into a third film, which was the 2013 Suicide Squad. So that's what's good, is like having like this kind of like level of cohesion with one story, one writer, one director, going from like beginning to end. Because David Ayer was obviously the writer and director of the 2016 movie, but he wasn't. He only kept it on because he had to per his like contract. So I mean, he could have fought it, disputed it with his union, but I mean, when you have like him writing and directing what was originally his movie, to like you have a trailer company rewriting and directing and editing his movie, like that's where you end up with a third film. And
Oh, clearly.
yeah, and then the difference between that and like this would be like, you know, James Gunn already has his movie. He already has the idea. He films it, and then when he gets to editing, then the studio might say like, we don't like this, we don't like this, like, and he
Yeah,
trims
trim
down the
people.
fat. Yeah, and that's it. But yeah, like, so it's awesome to see. This is exactly like, this is very few times you'll ever get to see something like this. The exact same effing movie made in two different ways. One, the right way, which is this one, the 2021, The Suicide Squad, written and directed by one guy who's actually a fan of the comics, to another guy who was just basically put together by a company. Like, you're a good gritty director. We got this movie property we want to make that's going to be like really gritty and grimy, and it's going to be like action packed, but it's also going to be rated R. Like, and then they sell it, like kind of putting a band together just because you're trying to make a profit, as opposed to like, oh, you want to tell a good story. Because like
Yeah,
when
it's just a mix
yeah, whenever they
of
brought
everything.
James Gunn on board, they just told him like, hey, like, we want you to make a DC film. We want you to make a DC film for us. They didn't tell him like what to make. They just said, we want to make a DC film, and he's like, yes, please. I want to do the Suicide Squad. That's the first thing he gravitates to. He could have redone Superman, which is what they probably brought him in there for.
That's
I
what they
mean,
probably
now,
wanted,
yeah,
but
now they got two different Supermans they're working
they
on.
got way too
Is
many Supermans.
Michael B. Jordan's Superman, and then
Michael B.
J.J.
Jordan
Abrams.
Superman.
Yeah, and then J.J. Abrams Superman.
Damn, they got too many Supermans.
Yeah,
They gotta just stick to one and let it grow.
they're making it rain Supermans up in here.
They got too many damn Supermans.
Yeah, which I don't know what is the issue with not making a Man of Steel too. That's the whole thing in itself.
Oh, Man of Steel.
Yeah, they could have just
I
continued.
I like Man of Steel.
Yeah, it
I
was
think
great.
I thought it was a good movie.
It was like, so what's lacking that they can't make a sequel?
Oh man, they clearly like to remake the movie.
Yeah, but I mean, it makes you wonder. Is like, is there's got to be some kind of like internal like arguments or discussions where they don't want to like do that for Henry Cavill. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to like speculate on like something that
What's
might
going
not be
on?
there, but it doesn't make sense. He seems like a great guy. Like, the studio seems willing to make money. Like, so what's the
I just
problem?
maybe he just doesn't want to do it. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, because you don't want to get typecast, right? Like that's when he did The Witcher, and like he did a great job in The Witcher.
Yeah, which the
You
second
know,
one's coming out pretty soon.
second one's coming out this
Second
year.
season.
Very excited.
Yeah.
but I just don't. I that's my thoughts. I don't know. I don't speak for the guy,
Mm.
but maybe he just doesn't want to be typecasted as like, oh, here comes Superman.
Well, and then it's also money because it all is investments. It's kind of like getting into the stock market. It is about the money. So like I don't know if you saw the new episode of the Hot Ones where Matt Damon was on.
Yeah,
So he was talking like he got asked, as a writer, director, and producer, and actor yourself, like how do you feel these streaming platforms have changed the way movies are being greenlit, and do you see like what that's going to mean for the future, or something like that, like along those lines of like what do you think about streaming? And then he goes, well, it's changed a lot the way movies get greenlit because before with a movie. The way it used to be is like your movie would show up in the theater, and then if it bombed, like you didn't have to worry too much. You just wait for the next 6 months, and then you get a giant check because a lot of people bought it on DVD or VHS. You know, so
yeah,
you might have not done great in the theaters, but you're only doing a short run in the theaters anyway. It's theaters is also advertisement, like because
yeah. You make money on the DVDs.
yeah, the way it might be is like you have like someone be like, "Hey, did you check out this movie?" "Oh no, I missed it." "Oh, I'll probably rent it on DVD." Or like, "No, you definitely want to buy this," or like, "Here, like I got a copy." Like buy it as a present for you because you need to watch this movie. I mean, there's so many potential for like making that profit on the back end, but now it's exactly this. Like it's in the theaters and it's also on streaming. like or oh wait, it's gonna be on streaming anyway, and then I can pause it and watch it at my own convenience. Like, why the hell would you buy the Blu-ray anymore, or the 4K, or the
Shoot, I
DVD, or
would never buy a Blu-ray.
yeah? I mean, I
Well,
still
not
do.
not take it back.
I
I
like to
would
have
say
it.
I
I like
never.
to have it sitting up pretty. But no, yeah, like
Next year,
I
Disney
mean,
memorabilia.
yeah. If it's not for like just having it, just to have it, like then why? If I can just I want to watch it right now, just bust it out on my phone and then stream it.
Yeah,
So it really does go to that is the fact that like now like why would anyone waste the money, quote unquote waste the money, but so he was like explaining, Matt Damon was explaining, like when a movie gets greenlit is like it might be a movie and it's going to cost $50 million to make, which it's also going to cost $50 million to market. That means like going on or paying like hundreds of thousands of dollars for like a really good trailer, then paying another millions of dollars for it to be syndicated trailer on different networks, and then also campaigns, millions of dollars, like in Europe, millions of dollars in China, millions of dollars in Japan, millions of dollars like for posters and screen. I mean, dude, there's a whole industry for how that works. Like say if you want to make your movie and you want it to be advertised in Mexico, like there's probably a specific department you're going to want to talk to in Mexico that they
no
they they go through the trouble of talking to the different multiplexes
distributors.
and TV networks and putting the posters up, and it's going to cost you $2.5 million if you're trying to reach these states, in Mexico
Yep.
alone. That's exactly where those. How the hell do you waste $50 million in advertising? It's well, if you want to make your $50 million back, you need at least a lot of people to watch it. If it's $1 per ticket, then you probably want 50 million people to watch that movie. And yeah, there's like 7.7 billion people on this planet, but again, who's gonna waste their time that day, that week, that month that it's showing in theaters to go watch it in theaters?
No,
Um,
yeah, I think that's what I'm saying is like with the whole streaming is like who knows? I mean, that's a whole conversation, right?
mm,
But I mean, I think more companies should follow the Netflix like hybrid approach. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Because Netflix doesn't advertise like anything for the most part. I mean, they do stuff like on obviously on social media,
yeah,
but like Tiger King, you know what I mean? Like basically word of mouth, and that show became a blockbuster for them.
yeah,
You know, selling all this other like not only the show but their media IP, and it just took over everything. And it hasn't just been just that one show, but like a bunch of other shows and movies
yeah.
that they've made over the couple of years have just just became a giant talking point.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like maybe that's something that the studios they really just need to get over in a sense is like is it really justifiable in like today's day and age for forcing a budget to get for an example, the new James Bond. It's like $400 million budget. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And it's not like, I mean, yes, it's, obviously special effects and acting and all this other like
It
locations.
costs $100 million to get this acting to be on point.
You know what I mean? But it's like, come on, man, you're not making like you're going into the Matrix halfway through the movie at like Avatar level of like
Yeah, it's James Bond. It's a movie about
CGI.
a spy, like
It's a movie
gunshots,
about
maybe a car
a
jumping.
man, like
Yeah.
yeah, like practical effects, like the
Hmm.
same like
Yeah, but a lot of that cost does come down to, obviously actors' price. Maybe like he wanted $20 million this movie, and then somebody else cost $10 million. Like it, the overall end price, if they ever do give it out, because they won't break it down.
no, no, no.
But
Yeah.
what the good saying is that if they tell you $200 million, cut it in half, and then half of that was advertisement. The other half was the actual cost of the movie, and that actually makes sense because that's how it ends up working out all the time. Because then you end up like quote unquote doubling your money in a weird like Hollywood accounting way. But it's like the way it works is like, so if you end up $50 million movie plus $50 million of advertising, you need a minimum of $100 million back before you start making a profit, because
Oh yeah.
you're gonna have to pay off all of your debt. And then and mind you too is say it cost you $50 million to make, but it actually cost you like around $60 million. But a lot of that movie was like investor money from like Dubai or China, or and not trying to get like social political, but it's the fact that people do invest in these things. Like say you're a multi-millionaire and you're like, I want to invest in a movie and I want an executive producer credit. That's where all those executive producers, we see in the movie as like 20 executive producers. It's people that probably lent them a car, lent them $1 million.
No, yeah, yeah, no. Like, I mean, just investments like Huawei, the phone
Yeah,
company. Like,
a lot of actors get executive producer credits just because they invested their time. Like,
yeah.
yeah, like I wanted to hang out like with my friend, but I didn't want to charge them $10 million per my union contract to be in the movie. I just took a executive credit, provided an actor, which is themselves. Um, but yeah, no, it ends up being that like where we need to make the money back, but also we have to pay a bunch of investors back. So we're not actually gonna Ivan, who made the movie and also invested your own money too into the movie, are not going to make money back until it makes $400 million on some
No,
weird
yeah.
accounting system.
And that's what I'm saying is like they, I think they've gotten very used to very quickly like this $1 billion blockbuster summer extravaganza. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Because this past like 3 4 years, like every single movie that it seemed to came out, like especially during that window,
Yeah,
was grossing $1 billion minimum, right?
yeah,
Whether it's Despicable Me, Jurassic World, or whatever, Fast and Furious. Like it's, I feel like they got real used to that real quick,
yeah,
and now they shot their budgets up to this like astronomical level where 5 years ago you wouldn't. Oh, $400 million movie. When the hell you talking about a $400 million movie?
yeah,
5 years ago.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like it's just it's insane, man. Like it doesn't, at least from somebody that is the end customer. Like I'm not seeing that from the screen like of like effects or whatever. It's just like it just seems like okay, it looks like a regular ass movie.
yeah, yeah. And that's what's funny is that like it might be a movie like a rom com. There's absolutely zero visual effects, yet it somehow cost them over $110 million to make. Oh, because you brought on like actors like Robert Downey Jr., who's going to cost you $20 to $30 million, and then you wanted another high A list celebrity that also cost you another $20-40 million. The like half of the movie's budget was the actors alone, and that's
No,
not. And then people are like, "Oh, they're overpaid," but now that's the union. That's the way it works. Like,
they're
how can
not.
you hate from outside the club?
I mean, more power to them, but I
Yeah,
think that personally, and there's no qualms on any actor currently, but like, I mean, that's on the studios. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like,
yeah.
maybe you shouldn't hire the same three
No,
actors that
yeah,
are in everything in
yeah,
the movie,
yeah.
and then bitch about diversity. Like there's so many people that are struggling to get in. I mean, I'm not an actor. I have no like want to be one, but like there's so many people that are struggling to be break into the industry, and you're hiring the six same people.
Yeah, your acting
You know what I
experience
mean?
is acting a fool, right?
Yeah, man. Like, come on, bro. Like,
Come
just
on.
put somebody else on the screen. You know, like it
Yeah.
doesn't
Did
have to
you
be the same six people.
so bringing back to the Suicide Squad, like to finish up? Did you see why they kept and this is again we're already in spoiler territory, but did you see why they kept Peacemaker alive?
Because they wanted his own movie.
No, they're doing a whole show. Like James Gunn apparently, like during the pandemic, wrote like a 8 episode series for HBO Max.
Really?
Like so he made the movie and then edited, and they were obviously like waiting, and he was just bored and just wrote an 8 episodes series. So they kept
Yeah,
him
he's
alive.
probably sitting in that new house that this movie bought, and he's like, you know what would go nice with this? A pool. So
A new
I
deck.
guess, yeah, a new deck and everything. So I guess I'll write
I
this
said,
real
bring me
quick.
my money.
Yeah, I was bored. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. No, that's why. I mean, now it makes sense. Like, why? What's his name? John Cena's been like touting the costume around all the time. He's trying to keep the hype
He's
up.
trying to keep the hype up.
Yeah, trying to keep it up for like whenever that does come out. Because I mean, other than that, like his character is kind of like it was good, it was fun, but like there wasn't enough there to where I'm like I need a movie, I need a TV show on this
No,
guy.
he wasn't Sebastian.
Yeah,
Sebastian the Rat was the character of the whole
yeah,
movie.
that Sebastian the Rat could get a whole movie in
I
itself.
was standing
Yeah.
over Sebastian.
But no,
Bro.
I'll still watch that show, the Peacemaker show, because I mean it was pretty awesome. Like the to see like where are they gonna go with it? Like what's it gonna be based on? Like a continuation or a prequel? So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Any
Yeah,
closing
especially with.
thoughts?
I got a lot of thoughts, but I guess we're close enough
A lot of
before
thoughts.
it get,
Yeah,
before it gets too late. But no, I think it was a good movie. We've
yeah.
said that a million times, but check it out. It's on HBO and at Max
Max.
and in theaters if you want to risk it all.
I mean, you're gonna get it. Might as well get it at the
Well, you might as
theaters.
well get it with your money in my wallet.
Bring me my money. Oh man. Yep. Everybody take care. That's 2 tickets to hell review of the Suicide Squad. See you.
All right, guys. See ya.